Drinking by myself at HQ.
Not really, I was standing right over there.
What's going on, friends, family, and followers of Northern Brewer Homebrew Supply? I'm Chip Walton, the digital producer for Northern Brewer.
I am Brad Siegel, the head development brewer at Northern Brewer.
And we are here because you often see Brad in our Behind the Brew videos, which are how we introduce a new beer kit. Maybe we introduce you to an older beer kit you didn't know about in our portfolio. But in those Behind the Brew videos, you rarely see kind of like how we got to the end product.
Behind the brew.
Right. You just know how awesome it is because Brad's spitting science, dropping science on said kit.
In glasses.
But what we have here is an opportunity to actually talk about kind of behind the test brew because we have three variations of our most recent kit, the Mexican Hot Chocolate Stout, and kind of how it progressed and evolved to the kit that we now all know and love. But before we get into these little glasses of beer, if you like these kinds of videos, if you like to see Chip and Brad nerding out on a random Wednesday at the end of a work day, all things homebrewing, some homebrew nerdery, like and subscribe, hit all notifications so that you know the next time we're just sitting around nerding out. Version 1 is kind of the base beer plus, but what is the base beer?
The one that should be right about here, but is not because it is gone. That is a pretty standard, maybe a slightly less intense American stout. It comes in at about 5.2 to 5.4 ABV, depending on your attenuation. You know, pretty simple. It's 2-row. It's some dark caramel malt. It's chocolate malt and black malt, and bittered with Columbus. So it's pretty standard for an American stout, even though it is not quite as strong as the BJCP would want you to believe.
And it's been in your repertoire for a minute. It scores well.
Yeah. Yep. Does well in competition. I've been brewing that beer for 10 years. So that was one that I knew I could kind of skip, because I know that beer is good. Now let's augment it.
Okay. And if for anybody that doesn't know, a Mexican hot chocolate, it's a decadent, rich beverage. It's chocolatey. It's got cream most often as the milk element. It's got cinnamon.
It's got and oftentimes cayenne rimmed on the glass or cayenne powder sprinkled over the top.
So we had four things we needed: creaminess, cinnamon, heat, and chocolate.
Yes.
And to get two of those, we have the first beer that is actually in front of us, the stout with cinnamon and lactose in the boil.
Yeah, this is the original base beer that this kit was modeled on, and it is then boiled with cinnamon sticks and lactose. So we're halfway there flavor-wise.
Kind of tastes like a cinnamon bun stout, but not nearly, if somebody was really intentionally making one of those, it would have like more lactose, probably higher finish gravity.
It would be more like a pastry stout than an American style stout with spices added.
Right, but it's a really fun twist, and it starts to get us there. I guess I didn't even ask you this during the whole process. Why wouldn't you boil the cocoa nibs and the peppers? Why wouldn't this just be like a one-pot meal?
The peppers and the cocoa nibs actually go in as secondary, as you would normally dry hop. So what I did is I took the peppers, chopped them up, de-seeded, and threw them into a jar with the cocoa nibs.
Right.
Covered that in a high-proof spirit just to make sure everything's kind of sanitary. And what's awesome about the high-proof spirit is it also really draws out a lot of the flavors in the beer, or in the peppers and the cocoa nibs. And so you're getting an extra wallop of flavor with the added benefit of basically being sanitary.
That boiling might have stripped out.
I think
fermentation
it was
definitely would have
too hot.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Too hot would have stripped out a lot.
So you did a 10-gallon batch, and then 5 gallons got that secondary treatment with cocoa nibs and ancho, and 5 got it with Chili's de Arbol.
Yep.
So the ancho is really interesting on its own, but does not have any heat.
No.
It smells like it tastes in this glass, and that is Raisin Bran.
Raisin Bran with a little bit of cinnamon on top.
Yeah, it literally smells like roasted, I think raisin bread, because now we have cinnamon, we've got this raisiny pepper.
Fig.
That if you just sat here and ate this, there's like zero heat to it almost, even the seeds and the ribs.
So although it tastes fantastic, that's a darn good beer on its own, right? It just wasn't what we were looking for.
Somebody on the internet's going to be like, "Where's the heat?"
Yeah, exactly. We'll get called out for that one.
So where the heat is in those guys.
Chiles de Arbol. So this was the next iteration, and what turned out to be the final actual kit with the chili. It's the Chiles de Arbol. It's got the heat that we're looking for.
Yeah. It's also, we were talking about earlier, it's got like this fire roasted skin quality to it that's almost like roasted or baked. It just does something else to those oils, to that heat. As you might remember in the actual Behind the Brew video for Mexican Hot Chocolate Stout, Brad cracked those pods, emptied the seeds, and then put just the pods in. So you can kind of control the heat by whether or not you put those seeds in.
Yep. If you put just the pods in, you're still gonna get the little bit of you're gonna notice the heat.
Yeah.
But if you like it a little bit spicier, take some of those seeds out wherever you crack them and put them in with the cocoa nibs and the peppers, and then soak them with vodka. To be safe, a few days will be fine. But make sure you swirl them up every here and there. And then those get once they've been soaking for a while, you can actually see the vodka or the spirits take on the colors of both the pepper and the cocoa nibs. But that's a good thing. That means we got all the flavors in the vodka.
Then you're just dosing the beer.
That goes right in like a dry hop edition. Let that sit for a week and move along and package it up. Here's what we got.
And these two beers are kind of a world of difference. Like this one has that heat that, especially after you've had a few sips of it and you keep talking, you start to feel. It also kind of has that cayenne red pepper flake kind of roasted heat to it, as well as the Scoville kind of heat, you know.
There's definitely some heat in there. It's not overpowering. It's just enough to kind of bring all the other ingredients together. So we've got the creaminess of the lactose. This I don't know how else you describe cinnamon as other than cinnamon.
Yeah.
And then the hot peppers and the cocoa nibs, and it all kind of comes together. So it's not going to be anything over the top like a pastry stout might be. It's not going to be amazingly chocolate and amazingly creamy, but those flavor nuances are there.
Yeah. It is still a stout. Whereas a lot of pastry stouts, you can argue they're supporting really fun flavors, but at that point they're almost like not
Right.
the imperial stout even
It's a
anymore.
really sweet imperial stout with whatever flavors you want to throw at it.
Right.
Not saying they're bad beers, but
Right. This is still a
sometimes they get over the
5%
top.
stout with
Yeah, this is like 5.2, 5.4, depending on your attenuation,
great layer.
whatnot. When you do add the chilies and the cocoa nibs with the vodka in it, that is going to raise your ABV up a little bit, but it's relatively negligible.
Going into 5 gallons.
Right.
So yeah, we just want to take this opportunity before our coworkers who are literally out there trying to kick these kegs on us before they finish it. Mexican hot chocolate stout, extract, all grain versions. We suggest you brew it as it comes to you with these chilies, but I wouldn't frown upon experimenting with those anchos in some other beer because they are a really fun flavor.
Yeah, I think that could be fun in like a brown ale, something that's not quite as roasty as a stout.
Yeah.
Or like an ancho mild.
Say what? Yeah.
Ancho saison.
Ooh, what? I don't know. That
Might be a little weird.
The Ancho Dark Mild might be where it's
That's
at.
the way to go.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We're gonna go back to work now.
Yep. See ya.
When we do stuff like this, do you feel more like Bob and Doug McKenzie or Bert and Ernie?
I feel like drunk Bert and Ernie. Not drunk, half in the bag.
Half in the bag.
Half in the bag, Bert and Ernie, talking about beer. Wednesday afternoon. We're getting paid for this.